Yo, what's up? Welcome back to the Gangsta Rap Odyssey. It is me, your host, the Diz Mega here, and I wanted to get this video out. YouTube actually completely censored parts of the Lloyd Banks audio, which, I'm not surprised, I guess. But I just wanted to tell you that you can get to the uncensored version on Vimeo or the podcast. Link will be in the description, of course. But you know what? I wanted to get up here and talk about this anyways. This is part 2 of The Course of the Inevitable versus Nas King's Disease. And both of these records, I love these records. I love the trilogy, and that's why I'm putting them against each other so I can compare it, at least just for myself, and decide who had the better trilogy. The first one, we actually gave that nod to Lloyd Banks. He just kind of squeaked out on top. The style that cartoon brings to the table with Lloyd Banks now, with that grimy New York sound, just made me favor it a little bit more than that more polished, commercial-ready King's Disease. So how does part 2 fare up? So like I did last time, I'm going to go over this in sections, beginning, middle, end. And, if you listen to the uncensored, uncut video of this, I will go through every song and listen to it at least for a minute through the hook and then tell you what I think. But in this case, just to actually get this video up, we're just going to talk about it in general. So on this side, we'll go ahead and talk about, Lloyd Banks. The beginning of The Course of the Inevitable Part 2. We got, that song Impact is how this record starts. And I'm just going to pull up the credits here. But I can tell you right off the bat that most of the record was produced by Cartoon. Let's see, what is his name? I always forget his name, man. It's like Cartoon Beats. I'm just going to pull it up here. All right, so we start off with Impact, another track done by Cartoon Beats, who actually does most of this record. And the way that the record starts off, I have to say that it's a strong start for Course of the Inevitable. Impact, though, being its weakest link, which is crazy because it's the first song, but like No Reward, Menace, Living Proof, and Value of a Check, those are all 5-star songs, man. Like, it's crazy. 5-star songs. I ain't trying to be easy either on this record, man. But that's how amazing that these records are. Course of the Inevitable, I love the beat, the direction. Like, you can tell that this is part 2 of what we already got, but it's still good. It's still good enough. I like to describe it as brilliant and dark and just a continuation of what we got from part 1. I'm really hyped about this record at this point, when I'm listening to it for the first time, and I was like, damn, this is going to be some more of that Lloyd Banks shit that I like. So I'm really hyped. I'm thinking we're in for another classic, Now, how does King's Disease compare when we get to the start here? Well, The Pressure starts off, and it's a dope track. The thing about Hit Boy is that every track that he makes sounds different than the last track. It's hard to really nail him down, nail his style down, except for the way he switches up his beats throughout a song, But I like the way it starts. The Pressure, it's just a little bit of a start than Impact was. But then we get to like Death Row East, and that's a 5-star track. Like, you listen to it, man, and you just have just seeing history through Nas's eyes was classic. I love all the storytelling, and Nas is a pretty nostalgic guy anyways, so it's right up his alley for him to make a classic. And that beat that Hit Boy made, it almost sounds Death Row-ish in my opinion. What do you think, man? It sounds like if Death Row was still making hits, that would be the sound that they were aiming for. I thought it was dope, man. Death Row East, I like the nods to the Outlaws there, Suge Knight. Just everything that Nas was seeing through his own eyes was just amazing here. So that was a 5-star track. And then 40 Side is a 3-star, but, that's just my opinion. EPMD 2 and Rare 5-star tracks, man. I love those songs. EPMD2, that beat is dope. I like the old school feel that it has. Eminem, whatever. He did all right. He doesn't like ruin the song at least. I do like the beat and the flow that everybody has on this track. I say that King's Disease 2 has a better start than the beginning of Course of the Inevitable 2. Just barely, because there's just more songs on here. On this whole album has more songs than the Lloyd Banks album. I don't know, man. I could go either way, because there's the impact, the way that the record starts on this side. I don't feel like it's as good as The Pressure, but the rest of the songs in the beginning are like 5-star songs. I'm going to call it a tie, man. I'm going to call it a tie. So far, we have a tie album here, Both of the records, they start off really strong. You should know that you're in for some kind of classic ride. Nas has the upper hand, maybe, arguably, just because, I guess, because Hit Boy does have the tendency to make beats that sound completely different. Where cartoon beats over here, you can kind of listen and think that's a cartoon beats track, man. That's a cartoon beats track. It's pretty crazy. But, I'm digging it, and I'm also digging the features that Lloyd Banks has. Actually, I think the features are better on the Lloyd Banks album. Conway the Machine and Benny the Butcher, those guys from Griselda Records, like that company, man, that record label is doing some gangsta shit. And I like it, man. I dig it. I can't say that I follow them too hard, but they got my attention, They catch my ear. They got my attention. I'm digging them, Griselda Records. Not too bad, not too bad. So, let's move on to the middle of these records, the center of these records. And I'm talking about the first track that I consider the middle of Lloyd Banks, and that's Power Steering. That song is so dope, man. It gets 5 stars for sure. Now, Power Steering, this one has Jadakiss in it, and he sounds dope, man. Like Jadakiss, and actually, the beat on this one is done by Mr. Authentic. Either way, man, it's a dope beat. Jadakiss, what can you say, man? You got to be dope to have Jadakiss on your song, and have that confidence that you're going to keep up. And they do good, man. He does good. Lloyd Banks does really good on this one. So, and then Fall in Love, that's a 4-star song. Power Steering 5 for sure. Fall in Love is a 4. I think that was the single to the record. And it's all right. It's catchy. It's got a catchy hook. I dig it. So, Fall in Love is cool. Socialize it wasn't my thing, but Murder One, we're getting back on track there. And Don't Switch is another, it's all right. I like Tony Yayo. He's cool. He's all right on here, but it's a 3-star. Murder One being a 4. So, the middle of the record is getting a little bit rocky, and that's normal. That's routine for a lot of records. They start off strong, and in the middle, they kind of start to find their way. They're up and down. They get more experimental, in my opinion. I like it, though. It's all right, man. There's no skippers here. If there were skippers on these records, I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't put them next to each other and call them both great. But these records have no skippers, so call it a spoiler alert if you want. So, on the Nas side, we have we start off with YKTV, and I like that song, man. I'm gonna give it a 4 stars. But the other tracks on the Nas record of King's Disease 2, which are kind of in the middle, that are 5 stars, I'm just going to say, man, Store Run, Nobody, and No Phony Love. I love those songs. I think those are the best ones. Moments is a 4-star track. There's no skippers here, man. There's really just no skippers here. And that's what is making these records fucking amazing. In my opinion anyways. Let me just look at, see if we're missing any features here. Nobody, yeah, that's what I thought. Featuring Lauryn Hill. I don't know much about Lauryn Hill. I didn't check out the Fugees, back in the day. But if I'm missing out, you gotta let me know here, man. I might check her out anyways, because listening to her verse on here, I'm just I'm ready for a Lauryn Hill record, like another one. I think she did great, man. I loved what I heard. And the middle on this record, I think, is stronger than the Lloyd Banks middle. So even though it's not classic or it's not perfect, it's almost there. It's just, there's just a couple scratches here and there. But not really, it's all just, like 4-star tracks. That's just my opinion. So they gotta be fucking good. They could be 5 in your eyes. I don't know. I think that the center of this record is hella strong, man, and it's dope, man. Nas with the upper hand on this one for sure. I think that the Yayo feature on Lloyd Banks is pretty nostalgic, at least. "Fall in Love" is hella catchy. It's a dope single, but I think that the creativity that we get from Lloyd Banks on that track is more than what we expected. I don't know if it's more, but it's just different than what we expected. But it's still a pretty dope track. I gave that one a 4-star. But all in all, we're starting to see it go up and down on the middle of the CD. But let's go ahead and get to the end here of these CDs, man, or just records, we can call them these days. The end starts off with Dead Roses here on the Course of the Inevitable 2. It's all right. I gave it another 3 stars. It didn't hit 4 or 5 for me, and that might just be because these guys, or Lloyd Banks, has set the bar so high that a 4-star track or 5-star track is just in a different universe when we're looking at this thing like in a vacuum. So, 3 stars, not a skippable track. But then Trapped, damn, I love that song. 5 stars, man. 5 stars for sure. Let's take a look at that Trapped. I'm just going to look at the wiki here to see who produced it. Trapped is Cartoon Beats, of course. I love it, man. And the last track, Traffic, I gave that or number 13 actually. I gave that another 3 stars. It's all right. Not to write home about, really, but it's not whack either. But the whole album ends with On My Way, which isn't like the strongest track, but it's not the weakest either. I think it's almost a 5, but it's a 4. So I think the end is cool here, and it starts to sound, it's like a smart, cool record, but it's still kind of dark at the same time. But the standout towards the end is going to be Trapped. And I don't know, man. The other songs, they're pretty cool, but Trapped is the 5-star at the end here. One thing about the record, though, is that we're getting what we got from the beginning. Beginning to end, it was grimy. Sometimes in the middle, a little bit experimental. But for the most part, this does sound like part 2 of The Course of the Inevitable. So if we go off to the Nas side, then how does this record end? I think Brunch on Sundays is okay. I gave it 3 stars. You got to be in the mood for it, maybe. I don't know. It's a cool track. It's Nas. It's just he's just chilling. It's Brunch on Sundays. But then number 5 or a 5-star track, the next one, Count Me In. Man, that track is dope. I don't know. What do you guys think about that track? Is it a 5-star to you? Because for me, I put it down as a 5-star. I loved it. Composure, a 4. My Bible for sure is a 5, man. Hit Boy is just killing it, and Nas is good. It's a 4-star track. It ends off strong. I think it's a dope way to end this record. Count Me In, My Bible being the best tracks on the end here. Nas is Good is decent, and it feels like the end of the record at that point, and it is. So all in all, if I had to sit down and say which one is better of these records, I got to give the edge to Nas this time. I think a 4.5 while Lloyd Banks sits at a 4, on that rating is fair. I think that Nas has more 5-star tracks here, and not that he has any less of a 3-star, but he has more 4 stars. It just sounds like Hit Boy on this one was starting to hit his peak. I don't even know if you can say that, but every Hit Boy song that is made on here, it seems like is vastly different than the one before it. Like, it's crazy. You can pull out all the Hit Boy tracks, and if you put these on King's Disease 1 and then like mixed them up with 2, I wouldn't even be able to tell the difference really. I guess you could say the same thing for Lloyd Banks, but what I'm really trying to say is that the cartoon beats on this record sound like an evolved version of the earlier work that Lloyd Banks did for part 1. So if you like that, you're gonna love this. With Hit Boy and Nas, it's just different than what King's Disease 1 sounded like. So I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying what I noticed. And I think it's just too bad that like Lloyd Banks and cartoon beats get lost in the mix, or they don't get that attention that Nas and Hit Boy got. You know, they don't have that commercial eye on them, but it's so understated how dope those guys are together as a duo. And you know, Nas and Hit Boy, they're doing their thing, and you know, they're popular or whatever. And I'm not sure if they're doing more, but the duo that is Lloyd Banks and Cartoon Beats should for sure continue on, I hope. So, you know, that's my opinion on these records. Which one wins, which one comes out on top. I'm going to say that this time Nas gets the edge, but I love both of these records. And if I didn't, I wouldn't put them against each other and ask myself the question, which one is better? Now, let me ask you which one you think is better. Let me know in the comments. You know, I'll be back with part 3 soon. But if you want to hear the uncensored one, hit up that Vimeo link or go to throwback88.com and check out the archives. You can also find the podcast. And, you know, all it is I do on this one is listen to every song and then tell you what I think is dope about it. If you're into that, check it out. If not, this is the video you checked out. You know, if you like it, hit subscribe. And we'll just keep doing this, baby. I'm out. Peace.